Hi there, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and I'm excited to be joined by Bob and Helen Stein this morning. And we're going to talk about their life in dogs and their thoughts on the sport and where it's headed in the future. How are you guys?
We're good.
Good. Hanging in there in this year?
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's been a different year.
I heard you guys just went, and on the road for a good while doing some judging. How were the shows for you guys?
Well, they were fine. Helen did 6 shows in the last month, and I did 12, which was a lot more than I do on a normal year. But they were fine. They got pulled together because of change of dates and so forth. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had that many in a row. But that's the way it works.
We're just adapting this year and getting through it.
Let's see, how many were outside? 2 sets of them. 6 of them were outside and 6 of them were inside. Is that correct?
I think so.
Sioux Falls and Tampa. Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's great. Well, and I think it's wonderful how these clubs are pulling together resources and combining efforts to make these shows still happen so that people can still get to dog shows.
Yeah,
doing what we can.
Some clubs are really doing a good job, and some superintendents are getting involved, and we think that's good because
amazing
sport a lot.
Amazing. Well, and thanks for putting out an effort on your guys' part to get out and travel and make that happen, because those judges are needed, and I know it's long days for you guys too when you have those days on the road.
Right. Because of these rolling up into these different weekends, they're big entries, so you're ending up with full loads every day.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we start with talking about how you guys both got started in dogs in general?
Okay. You should go first since you've had
Why,
Afghans
'cause I'm
longer than I
older?
have. Yeah.
Off the record.
I got started in dogs when I purchased basically what I thought was a pet Afghan, and back when I was like a teenager, and then I found out that it had a nice pedigree, but it wasn't showable because of it had a kind of a negative personality. But he was a nice dog. I thought he was a younger dog, and when I got his papers, he was like 9 or 10. So it was a little too low. But then after that, I went and purchased I got really interested in the breed and purchased a foundation bitch and went on from there.
Did you show your dogs yourself?
I did mostly, particularly when I was finishing them, I would. Once in a while when I decided to take them out beyond that point, I would get a handler, but I tried to show my own. I finished most of mine myself.
Wonderful. Who were some of your early mentors in the breed and just dog shows in general?
Mentors?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have it. Yes, I did.
Well, self-taught.
Marjorie Lathrop, who was originally Marjorie Jagger, which was Majara Kennels, and the Bernard Mansfield in Cincinnati, Ohio, is now deceased, so is Marjorie. They were people that had been in the breed for a number of years. I did end up breeding to Marjorie's dogs a couple of times, so she was a good mentor. And the Abrams in Ohio, these people are all deceased, so
yeah,
but, they were good mentors, and other people that I met along the way. But
you pieced it together as you went, kind of a thing.
Excuse me?
You pieced it together as you went. You kind of learned from different people and put it together.
Yeah. You learn by showing your dogs and figuring it out a little bit. But my first foundation bitch only produced 1 puppy, and so I showed her and finished her pretty quickly. So I was getting the wanting to show dogs. It became very necessary, but I was still not even in college, and not even wet behind the ears, so to speak. But things.
But you just jumped in.
It just jumped in, and it went from there. And I never bred more than probably 6 to 8 litters total, because I was either in school or working or doing other things. So it was a hobby thing for me, not a vocation.
A livelihood, right, right. How about you, Helen? How did you get into dogs?
I got my first Afghan hound in 1974, which was that early 70s period was really a hot period for our breed, and everybody had one. So I was in college, I think, when I met my first Afghan. Although my mother says I talked about it since I was a little kid, but I absolutely don't remember that. But, what I did was go to a lot of breeders who nobody had puppies. And I went to my first meeting of the Afghan Hound Club of Southwestern Ohio, which had probably 50 members at that time, and met people who became my mentors, and ended up buying a dog from somebody in the newspaper for $150, but nobody had puppies for sale. So I was happy.
Right. You had to start somewhere.
I did. And then I actually met Bob at that first meeting. So.
Oh, no way.
I got lucky, yeah. We started dating about 4 years later.
She didn't find a puppy at the meeting, but she found Bob.
Right, exactly. I'm not sure we got along at the first meeting, but it worked out.
Oh, I love that. And so when did you guys first get into judging?
I got in the late 50s. Helen went in
1994, and I have to say I was kind of dragged into that experience, somewhat by Bob. Sue and Ned Kaufman were very insistent that they thought I should judge, and they were really, really supportive of my early years.
Mm-hmm. How has that experience been for you, transitioning from an exhibitor and a breeder to a judge? Was it easy and natural? Was it different than you expected?
Easy and natural, because I'd already done some sweepstakes, and we're still showing dogs now. So
yeah, oh, wonderful.
An exhibitor. No, we're not breeding dogs, but we're still showing. So
active with your own dogs. I love that. I love that. And I think also I love to talk about couples and how they have their relationship in dogs. Because I think it's an involved livelihood, and it can be difficult, I think, to be with somebody who doesn't.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
I don't know what you
He
mean
doesn't
by
know
that.
what I mean.
Do you guys find that your opinions line up more often than not, or is there sometimes more of a disagreement going on?
We don't always agree. I would say we agree generally on the type of dogs that we like, not in every breed, but I judge all breeds. Helen judges 4 groups now, so I don't really even ask her about a lot of times which dogs she judges, other than maybe Afghans, which we're interested in. But otherwise, I don't try and influence her, and she really doesn't try and influence me. We're pretty independent in our judging.
I love that.
The same thing in Afghans always.
No,
depends on the dog.
But
right.
I think we sort of end up with the same type of dogs, and generally speaking, and agree on certain basic things on our breed. But we judging that much in different breeds, you certainly can't agree on everything.
Absolutely. Speaking of your breed, what would you say your opinion is of the state of the breed right now compared to maybe when you got started, and maybe some thoughts on things that should be prioritized in Afghans and breeding programs currently?
There's quite a difference because of the numbers. When I got into it, and when Helen got into it in the 70s, it would take for a major?
Maybe 25.
25 or 30 dogs for a major, and
now it's 4.
Now it's probably 5.
My God!
Depending on the area, of course, but I think down here in Florida it's 5 or 6 something, which is, and there's quite a few shown in Florida, so that may go up a little, but the numbers aren't there. So when the numbers aren't there, the quality sometimes gets compromising. Because people, and it's not that hard to finish dogs that aren't would not have been finished years ago, because you would have had
more competition.
We don't have the breeders today that we had. We had some top breeders back in those days. Well, I can name a few, but you probably know. And
Yeah.
they would always, you'd come to a dog show and these breeders would have their dogs there and you'd have competition, whether you were new or medium or whatever. So it was not that easy and to finish dogs and so forth. So that's the difference today. The numbers are smaller. So, however, we do find there is some good quality in the breed. You just have to find it.
Right.
Right.
But there is good quality. And we've both, Helen's judged the national what? Twice.
Sweeps once and regular twice.
All right. I've judged the national 5 different times, which
I was
probably.
gonna say, I know I've seen plenty of photos of that.
So that's probably a record. I'm not going to judge the national anymore because, I think they're tired of me. But I judged the national last year in October, and I actually found some pretty darn good Afghan hounds that I was happy to put up. And but I had to go through a lot of dogs to get there. So, but that's
Right.
sort of always the way. And the entry was not bad. I don't know, 150 or something like that. Where it used to be when I did a specialty out in San Diego, how many were there? 250 or 300? Probably one of the biggest specialties we've had. So, and I again found good stuff there, but yet in 1919, I was happy that I could find 2019, I said 19. 2019, I was very happy that I could find some really nice Afghan hounds. Pleasure.
Oh, that's lovely. So again, if like you were mentoring other new judges in your breed, what would be like your elevator pitch on the main priorities that make a great Afghan hound?
Well, Helen's does probably more education than I do, so why don't you answer that?
Well, he has good comments. Balance. The dog should look like an athlete. The movement should not be fancy or dramatic. They should be very smooth with smooth reach and drive, not reaching out too far forward, not too much drive behind. A big concern of mine in the breed is that the tail set be low, the tail be long, and the tail should not be inclining forward or hitting the back. And we see a lot of that in the breed.
Bouncing.
Bounce. And it's mentioned several times in the standard that it should not do that. And an overall elegant picture, not a fancy show pony.
Right. It's not a caricature.
That's good analysis.
I love it.
Of the breed. And we also bred one litter of Salokis and owned some Salokis that we showed. So that gives you a little different insight because that breed has to be moderate. It should not be exaggerated in any way. And I was happy enough to do their national one year too. So it's a different breed. There's different characteristics, but there's some similarities too. So
right, and it kind of shapes your understanding of your breeds when you bring back that perspective, I'm sure.
Definitely.
What would you say some of your individual most memorable moments in dogs are, whether that's judging or exhibiting, even just relationships or connections with people? When you look back on your career in dogs, what sticks out the most?
No, go right ahead. You've had a lot of good ones.
You're talking about judging or showing?
Everything.
Well,
all of the above.
Showing, I was more interested and was not really willing to do a lot with handlers and finishing my dogs. So I was happy to finish a very high percentage. There was only maybe a very, very few that I didn't finish for one reason or another. Sometimes they were hard to show. Sometimes they just didn't get in the right hands. You know how that is.
Right.
But I was happy that I had a bitch that I think she was top producing bitch. I don't remember what year. Do you remember? 70s or
78?
Something like that in the country.
76.
And so that made me pretty happy. And she actually, we talked about Majara, and I think Marjorie only judged And I hadn't seen her for years. I think she only judged one specialty, which was in Ohio, the same club that Helen was talking about. And I was very happy. I didn't show the bitch. I did have a hammer on it, but she won the specialty. So that was very memorable.
That was a very distinguished win under that judge.
Yeah, because she'd been a breeder for many, many years. And I was just so happy that I could win under her. Then showing dogs recently, we were both involved in a best in show dog. What was his
Pandy.
Pandy, we called him. I don't think you need all the kennel names and all that, but we were very happy with that. Vicky Seiler Cushman showed him in the breed. She was too busy to show him in the group, so Helen showed him in the group. He won the group, and then Vicky showed him for best, and he won. So we were very proud of that. We had another dog that died at a year.
We campaign like almost never, so we were.
Well, we did decide to campaign this dog. It's not a dog we bred. We bought him from Theon Kennels and J.F. and Jim.
Yeah, and that's a different dog.
Different dog.
This Sandy,
dog, this was Sandy, and he was just a marvelous dog in every way. He kind of fit the things that Helen was talking about. Unfortunately, and he was winning group after group with Harry Bennett showing him, and we were getting ready for that first best in show, and then he developed bone cancer, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
But
very nice, typey,
beautiful dog. And I think his picture will probably be in one of these pictures that we have.
Excellent.
And we have pictures of a lot of wins, and also pictures of dogs that we've put up at some specialties and so forth and so on. And a picture of the two Salukis that we had. And we also have an Afton pincher now.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Helen finished her at a young age with like 4 majors. And it's a different deal. It's a different deal.
And let me say that everyone knew Beanie Sue, who was our only Chinese crested.
Yeah, we got a Chinese crested.
I think and Tom and Amy know Beanie Sue, I think. Probably still ask crested people about Beanie Sue, and she was a really good dog, but she also had a very interesting personality. 5 people, but
she didn't like a whole lot of people. She was kind of tested.
But she was a great show dog.
She was
right. She was selective.
To your question about experiences in the past, I was lucky enough to come in the early 70s when the breed was really, still in its heyday. And I was able to meet a lot of these famous people who just were showing dogs and judging like the rest of us, Kay Finch and Babby Tongren and Sonny Shea, and a large list of people. That's just some. And they were just competitors. And so
that's just who you were around.
You learn a lot just being in the grooming area by people like that. And I was just fell in love with this breed and stunned. But another really great thing about this is that so many people that I met in the 70s in Afghan hounds still have them. They're still showing them, or if they're not able to show them, they're still living with the breed. It's not a breed for everyone, but I will tell you the loyalty, we don't all get along, but the loyalty is there for this breed. And
I think with
happy. I go to a show with some of these old people, and I'm an old person. They're there.
Yeah, and I think that's something that really says a lot about the longevity of commitment to a breed. Is something that makes breed culture, I think, very important for somebody new coming in, right? So that they have people who do have, like you had, that experience to learn from, and then you can pay it forward. I think that's actually a great segue into how would you recommend new or young people approach getting involved in dogs, specifically in your breed? And is there anything that you might recommend to other experienced dog people to assist in that process?
It's an interesting question. I'll answer part of that.
Those are all.
In our breed, and we have our parent club is the Afghan Hun Club of America.
Let me stop there. Helen is now president of this club.
So here's a plug.
Oh, perfect.
But we have a very good mentoring program, and we have a mentoring chair. And if people contact her, she can put them in touch with people in the area. There are right now, and this is relatively new in the last few years, right now quite a number of young people coming in. I mean, teenagers and also then younger adults. And most of the people in our breed are very willing to help offer advice on grooming. Sometimes they offer a little too much grooming advice. Not a breed. It should, truly, the breed is supposed to be shown in its natural state. So people, newcomers, come into the breed and they say, oh, I have to cut this and I have to shave that and I have to trim that. And you really shouldn't do any of those things. You need to learn how to make it look natural. And we have plenty of people to work with newcomers to help. And then there are always, the bad eggs who cause some trouble, but everybody has those.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just about more people being the good eggs.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we're getting more and more. So
I love that. I think that, and that's one of the things we're focusing on.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we're focusing on right now, like especially in a lot of my videos, is with younger people and talking about like how to engage more people, because these are weird times and times are changing, and people are using things like distance communication to still learn about breeds and get involved in dogs, even though it's a weird time where you can't necessarily get to as many shows or meet with as many people if they're at risk and that kind of thing. So I think it's wonderful that there are systems in place in your parent club of mentoring to give people a place to direct someone to. So if someone says, hey, I love Afghan hounds. This happened with a friend of mine in DC who had grown up in the sport in New Zealand, actually, with Afghan hounds. And he said, who can I get in contact with here in the States? And the Afghan hound people on the East Coast were actually quite wonderful in getting right with him, and I think that's, again, goes to breed culture. And I think that's an important thing for people to be mindful of preserving, because not every breed has that.
I'm glad to hear that good experience. And the one other thing I'd like to say about mentoring is that sportsmanship can be a problem among certain exhibitors. In our breed, I'm sure it's true of all breeds, and we really try to get people to be mentors who exhibit good sportsmanship, win with grace, lose with grace. Don't be a bad sport and don't fight with your friends. And that's how we've stayed in this breed so long, we think.
Basic human decency.
Yes.
I will say this about the breed. It's not a breed for everybody. No. It is a high maintenance breed. It's a breed that, if I open the front door now on the Afghans that we've had around here for years,
obedience trained up,
they would go, and you would be hunting for them for days. And I went through that in the years. I lost a couple, but I always found them. But anyway,
they were off hunting.
It needs good fencing. It needs pretty much not grooming every day, but it needs to be groomed. It needs to be cared for. And I wouldn't call it high maintenance, but I wouldn't call it, it's not a wash and wear dog either. So you need to be pretty dedicated and really love this breed if you really want to bother with it.
And they're really smart. So they don't want to just lie around on your couch. They'd like to learn a few things. They'd like to interact with their families. And they're not a breed that should just be hanging out in crates.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes,
even with that code,
I want Helen just to bring our newest, Afghan in. She's 5 months old, 5.5 months old. I just want to have her
totally. Go ahead.
Do that now?
Yeah.
No, I'll do it at the end. I'll do it at the end.
Okay.
Otherwise, your friends will be very jealous.
Okay. She's kind of a handful right now, but she's quite a beautiful puppy. We didn't breed her. Yeah. The breeders were nice enough to offer it to us, and she's really a high quality puppy. But she has a wonderful personality for this breed. So.